Welcome to the Workies Podcast, the ultimate podcast dedicated to navigating the dynamic landscape of the home service industry. Delve into the world of business strategies, innovation, and growth as we bring you insightful discussions on the latest trends, success stories, and expert advice. Welcome to the Workies Podcast. I appreciate you being on here. For our listeners here, you got to meet Sophia, the co-owner of Dryer Vent Superheroes of New Orleans. She is also the marketing content manager, SEO specialist, and senior editor at Brand J, franchise development marketing. Specializing in search engine optimized content for franchise systems, Sophia significantly boosts various franchise brands' online visibility and growth. Sophia and her fiancé are hands-on franchise owners, steering the success of Dryer Vent Superheroes of New Orleans, an emerging franchise brand that has been thriving for over 2 years. As a couple, they've built a solid foundation, inspiring other couples to embark on successful franchise ventures. Sophia often manages everything behind the scenes, while her fiancé serves as the face of the business, a dynamic seen in many successful franchises. With a rich background in marketing, Sophia began her journey with an HVAC franchise that she and her fiancé started together. Later, she transitioned to working with home franchise brands on a B2B level. Now she focuses on dryer vent cleaning, leveraging her extensive experience to grow her business. Sophia also trains other franchise owners, sharing her knowledge and strategies to help them succeed. She exemplifies the dedication and multifaceted expertise required to thrive in the franchise industry, making her an invaluable asset to her business and the broader franchise community. Thank you so much for being on here. So excited to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I know I gave a bit of background on you, but I'd love to hear from your story and your perspective as well. A little bit about your background in marketing and how you transitioned into the field service industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I started, long story short, in college. My background was in web design, web maintenance, anything back end. And then after I got out of school, I transitioned to working in marketing agencies, transitioned into a marketing agency that focused on franchise development. So that's how I entered into the franchise world from the marketing perspective. I have a very franchise friendly family. So a lot of people in my family either own their own business or work with franchise systems or something of that sort. Franchising was always very familiar to my family, my siblings, my parents, all of that. Let's see, I think it was right after Hurricane Ida, which for us, I think it was about 3-ish years ago, it hit and pretty much like our whole life changed. The company I was working for, they gave me less hours because everything was affected. And while that was happening, my boyfriend at the time decided that he didn't want to work for his dad anymore. So he was in between jobs. He had learned how to be an electrical apprentice from his dad. So he had a lot of really good skills. We just didn't know where to go. We didn't know what kind of direction we wanted to point ourselves in, but he wanted to start a business and we were both looking for that kind of flexibility that owning your own business offers. So we started to look seriously at what business we would be interested in. So we were both in this weird limbo state where we were just trying to figure out what we wanted to do. And we both were on the same page as far as we liked the idea of business ownership. Franchising is something that a lot of people in my family are very familiar with. And at the time, I was also starting a job. I was starting contract work with the company that I now work full time with, which is franchise marketing. So I was starting to scratch the surface of what is franchising and why is it such a big deal. So at the same time, we were looking into what business model would suit our skills, our lifestyle, and what we wanted to do. And Aaron, my now fiance, jumped really headfirst into dryer vent cleaning. He did a lot of research and found that it was a lot easier than being an electrician and a lot more interesting. It's not like an emergency, but it is something that is needed. So you don't feel like you're selling things to people that people don't need. So it ticked all the boxes for us. We also saw that nobody in our city was specializing in dryer vent cleaning. So there was a niche that we saw that we could fill. Yeah, we jumped headfirst into it. We got really lucky. We were looking at this system that had a deal for younger entrepreneurs that may not have had a lot of money to start a franchise because they wanted to test and see if these models would work with people who didn't have a lot of money and if they could really grow a business if given the chance. We jumped on that opportunity. We don't have a lot of money to our name when we were starting out. We didn't have $1 million to open a franchise. We didn't have $500,000 to open a franchise. We didn't have $250,000 to open a franchise. So we got a really small loan and we got the tools we need and a marketing starter kit and all the support that the franchise system gave us. And we really just hit the ground running. And for those first 2 months, it really was like, wow, this is possible. We can make money and go home and not have to answer to anybody else. And it was really refreshing. And here we are almost 3 years down the line, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Wow, amazing. Especially because it sounds like it started with your family first and then just grew into something huge and you had an opportunity right in front of you and you took it and ran with it. I think that's really admirable. I know you're talking a lot about what got you into that point, but I'm curious what inspired you and your fiance to start an HVAC franchise and then a dryer vent cleaning.
Yeah, it was honestly mostly Aaron that decided to go the HVAC route. It was pretty much going to be, look, I'm going to do the business admin, I'm going to do the marketing, I'm going to do the kind of back end support, and you're going to do the face value part of it. You're going to be the person, the specialist going out there answering questions, selling jobs, and doing what you already know how to do as far as your electrical backgrounds. It was really on him to pick the niche. Most home service franchise models are very similar as far as you make an appointment, you go and offer your service or product, you complete the job, and then you either do a repeat business or it's a one and done situation. The actual franchise model wasn't something we were as focused on. We knew we could do that. It was more so picking something we thought we would have fun with. And for Aaron, HVAC was just so much easier than electrical, than plumbing, than almost every other home service out there. It's just not that hard. You don't come home smelling gross. You come home smelling like dryer lint. It's probably the most positive dirty job you could do, and at the same time it's something you don't really get tired of. You could watch dirty dryer vents all day long and still be like, oh yeah, I could still do this some more. It's also not it's not really hard. It's not like we're heavy lifting. It's not like we're working with electricity or water. Or the worst part is like days like today where it's pushing 100 degrees when you're outside for 20 minutes cleaning the outside of a dryer vent, or under a house, that's probably the worst of it. Yeah.
Okay, I can imagine. I love how you said it's the most clean, dirty job that you could have, which I love. That's such a good way to put it, too, because you're not, like, one, having to heavy lift, like you mentioned, or two, like, having to, like, you're smelling like dryer sheets, which is, in, like, dryer, like, good, you're smelling good when you get out of there, which is awesome. How would you, like, so I know you talked a bit about how you got into this industry, a little bit more about how it goes from a clean to dirty business, but I'm curious, like, how do you and Aaron split your responsibilities in running your business?
Yeah, we're very much funny. It's a funny split because I really do the back end and he does the front end, which is funny because if you met us in person, like I will talk your head off and he won't say anything. But when it comes to our business, like I'm pretty much, you only hear from me if you have a custom question that our phone service can't answer. And that's pretty much it. It's mostly all him. So I pretty much handle all of the business management, scheduling, marketing, any random messages that come in that our answering service can't answer. And then and any business manager, we don't really have upset customers, but if one were to come in, I would pick up that call and make sure that it gets figured out. But he does all of the front end stuff. He manages employees. He goes to appointments. He will do the appointments, train new guys, any business outreach that's on the face level. We very much call him the business owner and the face of the business. And then I'd pretty much make everything work in between and in the background. But we very much are a partner business. Whenever we make our big decisions, it's very much a big conversation, usually with dinner in front of TV, because that's how a home-based couple business works. But yeah, everything's pretty split evenly. I like being the back end, and I think he likes being the front end, so it works really well for us. And we're really good about communicating and coming up with plans and future goals. And yeah, so we have it pretty split. That works really well for us.
Yeah, and I'm curious because you mentioned like sometimes you're doing stuff while watching TV or having dinner together. So how do you like ensure that effective communication and a strong partnership with him in both like the personal and professional aspects?
Yeah, first thing you have to realize, and I think this goes for just business ownership, is everybody's going to have a bad day. Everybody's going to mess up. And our biggest kind of motto is it's not really about how you mess up, it's about how you fix the problem or pick up the pieces. So we know that we're going to have days where we're just not going to do our best and something's going to happen and we're not going to be able to deliver. But it's all about how can we make it up? How can we fix the problem? Knowing that you're going to have a problem at some point helps because nothing is perfect. But also our biggest thing is like the problem is not like us versus each other. The problem is a third party and we have to work together to solve the problem, or else it will stick around. And sometimes for me, that means stepping off, not saying anything and letting him deal with the problem entirely. Sometimes it's the reverse, him being completely quiet, letting me talk to the customer depending on what the customer's needs are. We work pretty well in that regard. We haven't really had a lot of issues where it's been a big issue. We haven't had any big issues that we've had to argue about. It's mostly how can we find the best solution that makes the most sense for us and what we want this business to grow into. And so far everything's been on the same page. Yeah, I mean, making sure you know that you're going to fail and then just making sure you're realistically communicating, but making sure you're having fun at the same time is also very important for us.
Yeah, I love that. Kind of having a healthy balance of both then too. I'm curious though, because of course, like in this industry, especially too, there's going to be some like high pressure situations that you have on the business front. So how do you guys like handle the dynamic of working closely when those high pressure situations arise?
Yeah, it definitely depends on the situation. More than not, the situation is going to be that like a customer is upset with Aaron because he's the face of the business. Now, I'll be honest, we really don't have this problem very often, but you will have it every once in a while. Every business does. If it's something that I know that I can't do anything to help other than support him, that's what I'm going to do. We had a lady a couple weeks ago, and I'm not really sure what happened, but we had to go back, and Aaron was like beating himself up about it all day. And he knew that as soon as he got there and spent 20 minutes there, the problem would be solved. But he still was like beating himself up about it all day long. So for me, I looked at that situation and was like, I can't do anything to fix this problem for him, but I can make him a lunch or text him throughout the day. Hey, you got this. And everything gets solved and the customer's happy. Reverse, sometimes it's a customer that like doesn't want to talk to Aaron because I've had this happen once. I say this like it happens, but I've only had this happen once. And so I was the one to kind of smooth everything over because sometimes things are going to happen and nobody's perfect. Yeah, just finding a balance and making sure that we treat everybody like people. We're people in the end. That's very important for us.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's important knowing and acknowledging like different personality types. And of course that's going to happen. It's just part of business too, but it sounds like the biggest thing for you guys is being like prepared for that and then working together not only as a team professionally, but personally to adjust accordingly, which is amazing. I'm curious for you guys too, like what advice would you give to like other couples looking to start a franchise or a business together?
Absolutely ask questions, learn, find a community where you can ask questions. No question is a stupid question. I don't care how many times I have answered the same question, ask it again so I can tell you, because obviously it's a question worth asking. It's owning a business as a couple is awesome because you get to work with your best friend. Not everybody works well with their best friend. I'll say that. I know couples who have tried to do a business and it just didn't work the way they wanted it to because they just aren't the type of people that can work with their significant other. If you are the type of person that can work with your significant other, I highly suggest figuring out what your strengths and weaknesses are as a team. In our situation, I'm the talker. He's the one that's really good at just getting his hands dirty and doing the work. So we really come to a comfortable organization of who's going to do what and how we communicate balances on that as well. Ask questions, get uncomfortable, find your strengths and weaknesses. More couples are starting businesses today than ever before. I know we're going to get into this, but we have more couples in Dry Rent Superheroes than I think any other type of owner operator is coming into our system. Our last training, we had 2 couples and then 2 independent owners. So it literally is like straight down the middle. We're like half couples, half independent owners right now, or one-off owners. I think women are seeing the benefits of franchising just as much as men did, maybe that's a weird way of saying that. But I think especially women who are past the 25 range or, hey, I don't want to work for somebody else, but I could definitely work with my significant other and do a lot better job than other people.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a really big thing to acknowledge. And we'll definitely jump into that here too in a second. But it is like one thing that you mentioned that I think is important for like our listeners to hear too is like knowing what's going to really like work for you and what won't. So like you said, there's some couples who can work well together and there's some who can't. And then having that knowledge of yourself and your dynamic, if that's something that's going to work. And you did also mention here too, like about women in this industry. And I think that's a big question mark when we're on a growth path for a lot of women in field service industry now. So I'm curious, as a woman in a male industry, what unique challenges have you encountered and how have you navigated them?
Oh, absolutely. I get people all the time saying that I'm a glorified desk worker or glorified desk technician or answer the phone lady. And I'm like, okay, you can think that if you want, but it's not the truth. The truth is even though I've touched a drill maybe 10 times in my life, I could walk anybody through how to clean a dryer vent from start to finish without even touching anything. Like it's not that hard, but also it gets interesting once you start to get into the nitty gritty, start to learn about the building code. If you're like a natural nerd like I am and you just love learning about things, you find a niche and you start learning into it, you're going to lean into it and you're going to find it interesting one way or another. But yeah, that's the biggest thing is people just don't realize that I'm the business owner. They think that I don't necessarily know what I'm talking about. So when I get into the questions and I start explaining some of our experiences, the conversation really develops into something different. They're like, oh, I can ask you questions. Oh, you do know what you're talking about, which is very interesting. But in our reviews, our customer reviews, we get a lot of positive feedback on the scheduling process. So I do sometimes think that, and maybe it's that most people who schedule with us are women. They're the moms or the wife of the household. They seek a little bit of comfort in the fact that they can speak to a woman that is also a local woman that knows how to do, that does laundry in New Orleans or owns a house in New Orleans is another thing. But yeah, I think it goes both ways. It's definitely an industry that we'll learn. And I know that it's probably an easier industry for women to get into as opposed to electricity or plumbing because it's not as gross. And I think that's probably the big thing that separates some women from getting into home services is it can be classified as gross. But I think we're definitely expanding. I know that we have some franchise owners that have hired women and they have women owners that go on jobs. And I've been on jobs with Aaron plenty of times and I enjoy it. I enjoy going on these jobs and talking to people and helping him do what I can do or what he feels comfortable with me helping him do because I know he can do a better job without me there. But it's interesting. It's an interesting question. And I think it's always evolving. My answer would be for that.
Yeah, I think the space is evolving now. I think the only constant is really change. And that's what we're alluding to here too, is that there is so much change happening within this industry specifically where women are starting to realize, oh, shoot, I can go into this. This may be something I am passionate about. And I really like how you mentioned too, like a lot of the people who are calling are like head of household women who might feel more comfortable too. And I think that's a really important point to have there too. So I'm curious too, like about these couples who are starting to do that. Can you elaborate a little bit more on the type of training and support you offer for other couple franchises?
Yeah, not too long ago, I want to say maybe 6 months or so ago, our franchise system reached out and asked if I could do some fractional training with our new franchise owners, specifically with Workies, which is interesting because it just so happened to be that our franchise system has been our franchise out of our franchise system had been using Workies the longest. And myself, as the person who does our back end support, just so happened to have the most experience in Workies. So they brought me on to attend trainings to train our new franchise owners with Workies, specifically in how we use it in Dryer Vent Superheroes, how our workflow is, how we specifically use it and how it's different, and everything that's comes with the wonderful product that is Workies. But I will be honest, the past 3 trainings that I've been on, there has been at least one couple on every training. And what's really interesting is the women are so excited about this opportunity. They're so excited to get in and get dirty and learn this thing. And they're so quick with learning it too. That's the best thing is I had this one couple and I turned around and the wife had already figured everything out. And the husband was like, oh, I'm not even worried because she has it figured out. So I think there's a lot. I mean, I love working with couples. It's so fun to post in our group and have both sides of the couples replying or posting their ads and talking about their experiences. And even outside of work, posting their, oh, we just went on vacation or, oh, we just celebrated an anniversary or we have kids or something. That's always really fun to have a community to celebrate that with as well.
I love that. The community base too and building that base with you. Sounds like a big part of your dynamic there with the people you work with. I'm curious because you mentioned you see these women getting really excited, people in the industry just starting to come together more as a unit. I'm curious for being a woman in this industry too, how has your experience influenced your approach to supporting and training the new franchise owners, especially other women?
Yeah, definitely my experience drives everything that I do as far as training them because it's all of what I've experienced the past 2.5, almost 3 years is going to be, all right, I had this experience and this is how you can navigate that. Or we have this experience on a normal basis. That's how you can navigate that. But at the end of the day, dryer vent cleaning is genderless. There's no technician that is a male or female or anything in between is going to address a dryer vent cleaning any differently from someone else. That's what's awesome about this business is everybody is a customer if you have a home. There's no disparity in identity as far as homeowners. Everybody can be a homeowner. So it's very inclusive. It's an inclusive space for our clients, especially. We're very friendly. We're very educational. But as we are growing as a society and becoming more inclusive, we're seeing that for people in the space of the technician role. And that's just awesome. But all my point is to say that I don't go into a training saying, as a woman, this is how you can approach a dryer vent cleaning. Approaching a dryer vent cleaning is the same no matter where you're coming from. And that's what I like about it is that you're interested in this. Okay, great. You're going to do well because you're interested in this. And that's all it takes. So yeah, I don't necessarily approach it as, okay, this is how you as a woman can get by with this business. It's more like, how can you you as a passionate individual that's interested in this business model do well. And that's where I think we really expand on.
Yeah. And I think that's such an important perspective to have, right? In order to have like change in the industry compared to how it was like, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago. It's important to have everyone be the same as long as you have a home, like you said, or as long as you are interested in the space, then that's all that matters. So everyone is treated the same, which I love. And I think that goes to attest to like why people come to you for this training and support. What advice would you give others setting up their franchise business?
Oh gosh, ask questions is the biggest thing. All of the franchise owners that like continually text or call me and ask questions, I just know that they're going to do, not to say that people that don't ask questions are not going to do well. I just know that they're going to have the answers. Biggest thing for me is be excited to succeed, but don't be surprised or blindsided by the fails. Like you're going to have a Karen moment. You're going to have a technician call out and then all of us are, quit day 3. Every franchise owner that I've spoken to, whether they're in my system or not, these are just like problems with running a business. You're going to have to get used to that part. I spoke with my mom a couple weeks ago and I told her that we were in the middle of finding a new technician because one had quit, and she said, wow, that must be so exhausting to have to always find new employees. And I'm like, I don't think so, because that's the essence of owning a business is things are always going to change. You're always going to eventually have to find somebody new to fill a role because that's just life. And she was like, that's a good point. I'm glad that you're doing that and not me, because I would hate to do that all the time. If you don't like change, owning a business is probably not for you. If you like change, if you like new things, if you like adapting to new things, learning new things, talking to new people, reorganizing your life, like your day-to-day life will change so much as a business owner. One day you're fully booked with appointments, and the next day you're just talking to your employees about how they can go out and do the appointments. So yeah, be ready for change, ask questions. No question is a stupid question. Rely on each other. And most importantly, book your time off. Don't pick up the phone. Make sure you have time to think about what you're doing and where you want to go. Because if you don't have time to focus and reflect, you won't go anywhere. You'll just burn out.
Yeah, I think that's a big component too, right? Because not only going with the ebbs and flows of what business is and being able to roll with those punches and be adaptable, but being able to take the time and space to back up from it and see it at a high level so you can adapt properly. I think that's huge. I'm curious too, because of course you used a different software prior to Workies and you had to adapt to Workies. So can you explain some of the biggest challenges you faced with your previous software and how has Workies helped overcome that?
Yeah, about a year into us owning our business, we switched from something else to Workies, and it was just the last software we were using was so clunky, and it was so hard to navigate. It was almost like if you don't have experience as an accountant using QuickBooks, you couldn't figure out this system, or it was so hard, or you had to get help just navigating around the system. And I've said this before, using Workies is like using an iPhone after using a Nokia. It is just so stupid simple. I don't have to wonder. If I hit home, I'm going to go home and I'm going to see all my dashboard overview. If I want to get to my schedule, I can hit schedule and I'm there. It reminds me of your basic computer folder dashboard. Everything is just so neatly and cleanly and just common sense organized that it is just so easy to use, to train people on, to adapt. When we do train people on it, we don't spend a lot of time training people on it because it just doesn't take that long for people to understand it, get it, and start asking them the advanced questions.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely ease of use is a big one. And we definitely strive to continue to make it as easy to use as possible, but still being robust enough to where we can get what you need in a business to run it. I'd love to hear from you as well, if you could share any specific metrics or examples of how Workies has helped improve your operations or customer service and overall business performance.
Yeah, absolutely. There's 2 things that are really big with our system. First is easy is reports, as we live and breathe off of reports. It is so easy to generate pretty much any type of report on Workies. I have a custom report. I was literally doing this today to send our sales tax information to our bookkeeper because Louisiana has just weird sales tax laws and they have to be the right date, the right whatever. I have to have a custom report that I can send to him every month. I literally did it today, and it just makes it so much easier. On our last system, I would literally have to just manually do all of that or create a spreadsheet and then manually edit the spreadsheet for an hour just to get the data that I need to send to my bookkeeper. So that, for me and for a lot of our people, is just really nice to be able to just click a couple times and get all of your data. The second thing that that does so much for our business, dryer vent cleaning in in practice is an annual service. Manufacturers will recommend you have your dryer vent clean once a year to make sure there's not a buildup of lint so you can have your dryer vents clean. I have this script in my head and my brain just blanked in the middle of it. I say it so many times and my brain just blipped on it, but it happens. It's Thursday midday. Yeah, we're getting there.
It happens.
Anyway, yeah, we, because it's a repeat business, because we not only manufacture, but we recommend you have this service once a year. We love that we can do automations as far as scheduling, as far as reminding people to schedule. A lot of people that just say, sign me up for next year, and we'll leave it at that. But we have a lot of automations that don't just leave it at that. We have automations that email or text our customers when they schedule an appointment, 24 hours before an appointment, after the appointment with our scheduling link, a year later to remind them it's time to schedule their next one, another one that says that it's scheduled, or you scheduled a year ago, here's your 24-hour reminder. All of those things are so amazing. And it's so awesome to look at our schedule in July of 2025 and already have 12 to 20 different appointments booked for next year. That is so awesome as a business owner to see that dependable revenue coming in a year in advance. So the automations is where Dryer Vent Superheroes has really just grown crazy, because we love that. And our customers, they have great feedback for it. They love the scheduling process. They love that it's easy. If they go the website route and they go through the form, all the information is there. There's literally not much else you could ask other than what's my technician's name and what color is their shirt that you couldn't learn from signing up an appointment with us on our website. So yeah, it just makes the organization of growing your business and I guess that goes for both reports and the customization, the automation. It makes growing your business that much more easier.
I love that. It's important to have something that's easy, not only for you to make it more efficient for you to make sure you're constantly streaming in new revenue as a company and a business as a whole. That's what we want to help with. But not only that, but to make it easier for your customer base. That's all we can ask for. So I appreciate that. Super happy that we're able to help you on that front. I'm curious too, for you guys, what's your guys' future plans for Dryer Vent Superheroes?
Oh gosh, our immediate goal is to get into Baton Rouge. That's the next biggest city for us. It's about 2 hours drive for us. So it would be finding that person that we can trust with the vehicle to take home and trust that they are going to handle, that they're going to show up, and that we don't have to drop everything and drive 2 hours out to help a customer. So that's a big push. We would love to one day have the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And then Aaron and I love looking at different business plans, different business models. What would be our next kind of thing? He's always saying, oh, I could do this. Oh, I could do carpet cleaning. Oh, I could do hood cleaning. Oh, I could do car detailing. Right now, he's fixated on food, festival type franchise models. So things he could take up and go to different festivals. We love going to Ren Fair every year. So he's trying to figure out a way where he can have a temporary side hustle at Ren Fair every year. So yeah, we're entrepreneurial in spirit. The sky is the limit. As long as we're together and growing and learning, I think that's what makes us happy.
Oh, I love that. So for our listeners, if you're in Baton Rouge or in NOLA,
eventually, yes.
Yeah, make sure to hit them up.
Absolutely.
Lastly, I did want to ask you too, as a NOLA resident, we need top 3 recommendations for best places to visit and eat and attend.
Yes. Okay. I'm the type of person where I have a note sheet in my phone full of recommendations because I get asked this question so often. If you are looking for oysters, which most people are, we are Team Felix's and not Team Acme. If you come here, you'll find out what that means. We prefer Felix oysters. Although if you want to pretend like you're an old grandpa eating oysters on a weekday, Casamento is amazing. I love them, but they're only open 4 hours a day, 3 days a week. Let's see. The thing about New Orleans is you could go into a gas station and find better food, hot, ready to eat, than most cities in America. We love going to our, some cities would call them bodegas. We call them delis. They're literally just little mini markets with a deli corner, and you go and you order a po' boy. We love going to get a massive po' boy and then just sharing it between the two of us and watching a movie at home. Felix's is our go-to for oysters. If we're doing crawfish, we boil that at home. Let's see. A lot of the Cajun staples is stuff that we like to make at home because we love to eat and cook at home. But Felix's is big. Commander's Palace is going to be your high end. I'm trying to think. There's so many places. What would be my top?
It's hard to pick.
It really
I definitely
is.
like the oyster suggestion though, because I want to feel and a grandpa eating.
That's the first time I went with my dad and a friend of his, and they're both pushing 60, and they literally were like, act like kids the whole time, and they're both big fat guys who are just like busting each other the whole time, and I'm just sitting on the side of the table eating my oysters and my po' boy and just listening to this awesome conversation about these old guys and reminiscing. And that's my one experience with Casamentos. So if you're here on, I believe, like Friday, Saturday 10 to 1, it's worth the wait. But I love Quarter Deli for po' boys. I love Felix's for oysters. I love my house when we boil crawfish here.
I love it. We're gonna have to drop the recipe.
Absolutely.
Cool. Thank you so much for your insight on how to build the franchise, advice to the couples here. And I'm sure there's probably going to be a lot of questions from our listeners too, so I'm sure they'll reach out to you whether it's for business or for advice. So I appreciate you hopping on here, and hopefully we'll see you again soon on the podcast.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you for tuning into the Workies podcast. We hope today's episode has provided valuable insights and inspiration to propel your business forward. Remember to subscribe to our podcast for more engaging discussions and expert advice on navigating the dynamic landscape of the field service industry. I hope you got to unplug a little with us. Until next time, keep innovating, growing, and delivering exceptional service. We'll see you in the next episode of Workies Unplugged.